Okay, it looks like Jesse is here. We're waiting for Jesse Bryant. And it's connecting, and Jesse's here now.
What's
So we can
up?
start the book club. Yay! This is
Yeah, nice
cool.
haircut, by the way.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm still getting used to it. I only had one meltdown.
Yeah. This is the first
So
year that I've had enough self-control to keep growing mine. So,
it looks great.
thanks.
How the turntables. You have longer hair.
Yep.
So, to begin, just a brief refresh of why we picked Educated for this month. I'm going to sit on a different stool. Nope, I'm not. So, we picked Educated because we wanted to do a memoir for the Thanksgiving month because it's all about family and family relationships. So, we thought it'd be a great chance to read a book that deals with some pretty weird family relationships from a first person point of view. And plus, Jesse and I were talking, and we both love memoirs.
Yes.
Like your favorite genre?
Yeah, I didn't even really realize that I was reading so many memoirs, and then I was on my Goodreads or something for just kind of skimming what I'd read over the past couple of years, and it was like 50% memoir, and I was like, I don't know why, but I have like a tendency towards these because yeah, it just kind of solidifies the importance of family for
Mm-hmm.
good or for bad in your life. And
Yeah.
it's like you can't avoid it. Like if you don't have a family, you're affected. If you do have a family, you're affected.
Mm-hmm.
It's just kind of cool to read about everybody's experiences. So,
Yeah. And we asked you guys if you had any memoirs that you loved, and we shared a couple of blog posts this month about our favorite memoirs. So you can go onto our website and see some of our favorite. He likes memoirs because they're about people overcoming obstacles. And he says Wild is a favorite of his.
yeah, that's one of my favorite books. That one's
Yeah,
really
you
good.
that one. Yeah. Um, and then Caroline said she was actually not usually a fan of memoirs, but she read Educated as part of the book club. I think she was our winner of
Yeah,
our
she won.
giveaway. Yeah, so Caroline was the winner of our giveaway, and she read the memoir. So welcome to the memoir club.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Um, and then other favorites were The Glass Castle and The Kids Are All Right. DLI recommended those.
Mhm.
Okay, so let's talk about Educated, Jess.
Okay, perfect. So, let's see. There's so many places we could start. But basically I read this book a few months ago. I read it over the summer. And I think you read it a few months ago too. But we decided that we really, even though we weren't reading it for the first time, we really wanted to talk about it this month. Just because there's so much and it kind of gives you a book hangover when
Mm-hmm.
you're done with it. And I think a lot of you guys felt that way too. It's just super emotional and it's just crazy.
Yeah.
So I think let's start with some of the polls that we did the other day.
Okay.
So yeah, and this was a question that Marilyn brought up, and then we made it into a poll question. Do you think she was super smart, innately just a genius, or do you think her professors just saw that she could work hard, had an interesting life story? And I was kind of torn on this one. Because, for one thing, after never having gone to school and then being able to, pass the ACT, that's amazing to me because, I was really good in school and I took the ACT, 5 times to get the score that I wanted.
Mm-hmm.
So, part of me was yeah, she was super smart. And then part of me was BYU also takes into account, where you're coming from. And then professors, it doesn't really, once you're in college, it doesn't always matter how smart you are, book smart. They really care about just your life story and your work ethic and all those things. And so the poll was 15% of you said super smart and 85% said desire and work ethic. And I think, yeah, and then Anthony said one creates the other. And I think that's probably true too.
Yeah. For me, for that question, I personally think it was her drive. And I think she had smartness. I think she was smart, but I don't think she was any smarter than a regular
Yeah.
person who goes to college. I think it was all about her determination and her work ethic and her decision that she was going to be in this world and she was going to go for it. Regardless, she had made the break from her family and made the choice to go to school, and now she's sticking with it. But what's
Yeah.
interesting, one of my favorite, not favorite, but one of the most interesting aspects is once she was at Brigham Young University and she was in school and she was in this new world, is that she still like wouldn't go to the doctor. Like she still had parts of
Right.
her
Yeah.
that were like attached to who she was, and she couldn't let go of those because she felt guilty or she just was scared, but she was still holding on to some of those things while entering this new world. And I think that actually kind of resonated with me. If you try something new, you still have to have like some parts of you that are the same and are comfortable.
Right.
Otherwise,
Yeah.
it's like
Like,
too much.
yeah, you
So
still totally hold on to like these identity things about yourself that you don't even realize are like unique to you or to your family. Like you just really hold on to those things. Like, yeah, I
yeah,
kind of forgot about that, how she was like breaking free, like no one was over breathing down her neck anymore, like watching her, but she still like couldn't go to the doctor. Like,
yeah,
and that was, I think that was like how her parents operated. Like a lot of what they did was based on like guilt and shame. Like there was
totally.
no positive reinforcement in her life. Like it was all just like being shamed by her dad or her brother. And like that was like really difficult to read about, I felt.
Yeah. Really quick, Sarah says that the growth mindset was so important for her. She didn't realize that she couldn't be successful at school, which is
Yeah.
a really interesting way to think about that.
Hmm.
So, but you just mentioned her like not getting any positive support from her dad or her brothers. So that was something that a lot of you guys mentioned in our questions we asked to you about her family life. And that was in our question about what was some of the most emotional parts of the book. That was what a lot of you guys said, was that Caroline said it broke my heart how much abuse Tara suffered at the hands of her brother Sean. And Marilyn said her belief that she was a whore made her feel somehow less worthy of academic success. Sydney said every time her brother abused her, the rage inside me couldn't be contained. It was so tough.
Yeah. It was like, that was like straight up like, you don't want to read it. Like it's too hard to read. But yeah, it's like any kind of like abuse like that is really terrible.
Yeah, but what I think is interesting, I think it's important that she included those aspects of her story
Hmm.
because it helps show how real those situations are for people, and also makes it clear that a lot of times people don't know that they can get out of it or know that they even are in it
Hmm.
when they're experiencing it. And also there was so much victim blaming and victim shaming in her life that I think is super prevalent in our society. So I think it was a really important part for her to bring up, but it was so tough
Yeah.
to, yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, I read like an interview with her, and she said like someone had asked her why she wrote the book, like who she was writing it for, and she said she wrote it for herself because like she wrote the book she wished she would have had at that time in her life. Like when she
Oh,
was trying to like separate from her family, like she hadn't read, well, she hadn't really read much of anything, but she like had no other people's stories to lean on
mm-hmm,
in that difficult situation. So she really wrote that book for herself to like to give to her past self to say like, hey, you can get out of this, you can move on,
mm-hmm.
which I thought was kind of crazy.
Yeah, that is crazy. So another poll question we asked you guys was, do you think it was her father discouraging her or her brother encouraging her that motivated her to get out of her life in Idaho? And 15% of you said it was her father discouraging her was kind of her impetus for getting out. And 85% of you said it was her brother, and I think his name is Tim. Is that the good brother? I know she has a million brothers. Tyler. His name is Tyler. Her brother Tyler, who went to BYU and got out and had a career and had a family and came back and said, Tara, you need to get out and do this. So 85% of you said it was her brother that kind of helped her break out of there. And you guys can share comments with us about anything we're talking about, and we'll see them and we'll share them with everyone else. I know everyone who's on it can see, but feel free to share comments. We don't have to be talking our thoughts the whole time. But I thought that it was interesting that 85% of you thought it was the brother that was really helpful in getting her out, her brother Tyler. So that was, Sarah had a comment about that as well. She said, I love Tara's relationship with her brother Tyler. He was a hero who helped her off the mountain. And I was like, yes, he was.
Yeah. Can you still hear me, by the way?
Yeah, I can.
Okay, just checking. Because I like clicked a button and I was like, oh no, I ruined it. Okay. Yeah, I think positive, like the positive example is always going to be more positive. Well, it's always going to be more effective, I guess. Like, yeah, her father was like really pushing her away. Like he wasn't really trying to, but he was pushing her away. But it like he like put so much fear and shame into her that like I felt like if she didn't have Tyler, she would have felt like too much shame to even do anything, to even step away from the family. Like that would have been too shameful.
Yeah.
So I feel like it was her brother that like it gave her the encouragement that she needed. That's what I
Yeah,
felt.
Sydney just said, if anything, I think her father discouraging her always held her back a little bit more.
Yeah. I feel like,
Which,
yeah, I feel like anytime her father was involved, she took like a step backwards, kind of.
right. Even when he came to visit, like, didn't her parents come to visit her when she was
At
at
like
camp?
Harvard or something.
Yeah, one of
Yeah.
her post-grads, and even then she was like, oh, I'm not good enough.
hmm
Yeah.
Yeah, Caroline just said, I feel like she was ready to run back to her dad before she spoke to Tyler. And yeah,
Yeah.
like that, there was like this strong like magnetism in their family that kept her with them for so long. And she,
You are cutting out.
okay, let me exit and then I'll rejoin because I'm having some audio issues.
Okay, so another question that one of you guys posed, let me see who it was. Oh, someone asked, does anyone else have difficulty confronting their parents about things they don't agree on, or other family members? That was something that someone posed to the whole group, which was like Tara, she had, sorry, I'm helping Jesse get back on. Tara had this world that she was trying to straddle and then leaving it, and she was trying to confront her parents about her decision, and she was having a hard time with that because of the culture of her family. So I was wondering, well, someone else was wondering, does anyone else have any difficulty confronting family members or parents about things that they don't see eye to eye on? So you can leave your comments in the comments about that. Let's talk about like most important or crazy or favorite parts.
I remember the part where doesn't she get, I can't remember the detail exactly, but didn't she get like tonsillitis or something? And her dad told her to go like open her mouth and stand outside so the sun could heal her. Like that like stuck with me and I was just so mad. Like every time there was like a really gruesome injury, and I think most of you guys felt this way, I was just like, out.
Yeah, that was so stressful. Oh yeah, Caroline says she had mono. That's what it was.
Oh, mono. Okay.
Yeah. One of the most shocking parts to me, and your audio is kind of in and out a little bit, but was something that Maggie said was like crazy, was the part where she was in her art history class at BYU, and they brought up the Holocaust, and she had never heard of the Holocaust. She didn't know what the word meant or anything, and people were like, you can't say that, like don't joke about that, that's not okay. And she just had no idea. She wasn't joking, she was just like, what is that? And that part to me was like so shocking of how little she knew about the world around her, and then being able to see her growth from there. But that was a shocking moment for me.
It would also be interesting to learn those things as an adult for the first time, because like we've like grown up knowing about these events since we were young, and it like kind of becomes part of our identity, but it'd be really interesting to be introduced those things in your adulthood.
Yeah.
And how it would affect you from that point on.
Yeah. Clay has a really good comment that I think we should share. It says, I surprisingly did not love this book. I felt that for the most part, she confused becoming educated with receiving enlightening information. It was almost like her parents are wrong, which means anything outside of that is right. And like it's black and white. And he said that made me feel a bit uneasy, that just because if it was something that her parents didn't do, that means it was automatically right, which I think is a really good point.
Yeah, even like the last line of the book, I think she said she called that her whole life experience getting an education, which in like the classical sense, just going to get her degree was the education, but I think she was really referring to her whole life, and becoming enlightened was her education. So yeah, I do agree with that. It doesn't mean I didn't like the book, but I do agree that that is the way she's using the word educated.
Yeah. Nice. Other parts about the book that were like resonated with you guys were Marilyn said, I oddly cried when she got into BYU, wasn't expecting it to affect me so much. Tara's art history exam at BYU, and things like that, mostly the stuff at education. Marilyn just said the letter Tyler wrote to her and her parents at the end was one of the most powerful parts of the book. For me, it demonstrates why we need to believe and actively stand up for survivors, which I think is, again, one of the reasons why all of that abuse was documented in the book, is to showcase the climate that we live in around survivors of abuse and how we talk about them. And so I think it's important to have someone first person share that narrative and how her mindset was so set in that it was her fault when it wasn't at all. Other polls, do you want to talk about the religious aspect?
Yeah, I was just about to say that one. So 70% of you said yes, her religion helped her in her life, and 30% said no, it absolutely did not help her. And this is another one of those questions where I can see it going either way, kind of.
Yeah, absolutely. And you guys can share in your comments, like, if you voted in that poll, which way you go.
So I think, like, my initial reaction is no, her religion caused her shame, but at the same time, I don't. So I guess backing up, me and Kylie and a lot of our friends in this book club are part of the same church called like the Mormon Church in this book. But as I was reading it, I felt absolutely no connection to what religion they were practicing. Like it was not the same religion that I practice at all. Like they read the same texts as in the Book of Mormon and the Bible, but like beyond that, I did not see myself reflected, like my identity in that situation at all. So going back to that poll question, I do think some parts of the religion helped her in that she did get into BYU, and I think the way that BYU operates, they do take your life story into account, and they do take your church membership into account, like to an extent when they're reviewing your application. So in that sense, I do think her religion helped her, at least as like a stepping stone. She she doesn't affiliate with the church anymore. Like
Mhm.
currently in her life, she has like stepped away. And I don't think that is a problem because the way she was raised in that
It's toxic.
environment, it was very toxic and it was not the religion that I believe in.
Hmm.
So like, and she didn't feel the need to try out the Mormon church as we believe in it because it had caused her so much pain, and I don't blame her at all.
Yeah.
Like, so yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
That that's exactly how I felt. So great job.
Yeah, and I hope that like people who are a part of this church like are able to explain to people because this is like a national bestseller. Like it's
Hmm.
not just people like members of the church who are reading this book. Like I do think it's important that we clarify that this is like not the same church at all. Like they are like a very radical, extreme version that I didn't even know existed until I read
Yeah.
this book.
The, yeah. That facet of the church, I was like
Yeah, I was like, what is going on? Yeah,
crazy.
it was wild. But oh, I will bring up one other thing. Like she read the Book of Mormon and the Bible and like the Brigham Young and Joseph Smith like speeches, I guess,
Those
as like
in the
she was
house.
like
Yeah.
teaching herself how to read.
Hmm.
And one part that was like really amazing to me was she was like, I just learned like the patience of reading something that you don't understand. And like that's an important skill. And
Yeah.
it doesn't matter what she was reading. She happened to be reading like religious books, but like that is really important to be able to push yourself. And she was like self-directed. She was pushing herself beyond what she thought she could actually understand.
Right.
And I do think that contributed to her like progressing in her education.
Yeah. You're so good. I just love having a book club with you.
Thanks.
Um, Justin says, I think she didn't do a good enough job making that delineation in this book. Those not familiar with the church could
Yeah,
draw,
for sure.
which is
And
what
I
he
don't think
said
I don't know her, but I feel like maybe she's not familiar with the church that she was like broken off from. So
at the time. She probably is now, but
yeah, probably.
we
Yeah.
don't know.
We don't know.
So one of my favorite parts about reading memoirs
Oh, hold
is
on. Marilyn said she stated a disclaimer at the beginning of the book. Okay,
okay.
cool.
One of my favorite things about memoirs is that you get to learn from a real life human who had an experience, and you get to internalize a lot of those lessons that they learned, or you get to draw your own conclusions from their experiences. So something that I've taken away after having read this book that I think about a lot is my personal motivation and the value I place on getting an education, like a life education, and am I taking advantage of all the opportunities that I'm given? And so that's something that I'm trying to be
Yeah.
more of is, am I making the best out of my situation, and am I helping others do the same? Because she had her brother Tyler who helped her and those positive influences, and then she also learned to make the best of her situation. And that's one of the major takeaways from the book that really is one of the main reasons why I liked it so much.
Yeah, it was definitely super motivating. And I read this other quote from her in an interview. She said, "To write Educated, I read a handful of memoirs to get a sense of what the genre meant. I needed to learn the fundamentals of the craft. I had never written a word of narrative. What is a tense shift? What is point of view? I didn't know any of it." So this is coming from this person who just wrote like a national bestseller, and she's like, "I didn't know how to write a memoir." And like that was so, like so encouraging to me to just like push yourself beyond what you think you can do.
Yeah,
And like
absolutely.
if you don't think you can do something, like learn how to do it and then do that thing. And
Hmm.
so I thought it was really motivating in that way.
Yeah, great. Good job, everybody. Thanks for
Yeah.
reading it with us. We try to keep these discussions to about 20,
Like,
25 minutes, so it's
yeah.
not super, super long, but we're going to record this video so it will be available after the fact. And you guys' comments we'll post in a blog post on our website so you can see other things. And we also super appreciate you guys reading along with us and sharing your comments and your thoughts and your questions on our Instagram and here, because it's just so fun when you guys share your thoughts because you are all so wonderful and insightful.
Yeah,
So
that's
our book,
honestly the best part. Like when
yeah,
people like start filling out the question forms or the polls, like Kylie will text me and be like, "I can't believe people are answering the questions," and we're just like, "I know." Like, it's really exciting for us to like learn from you guys too. So it's a lot of fun, and we do post a recap. So if we didn't specifically read your comment, like we will post it on the recap.
yep. And our book for December is short because it's December and it's called Remains of the Day and it is so good.
Yeah.
So, and it's short, like I said, I think it's like 140
Yeah, I
pages.
am about done with it, and I read it on a flight from LA to San Francisco. So like you can read it really fast.
Yeah,
Like it's a quick read.
and we'll probably do the book club. We'll tell you the exact date, but it won't be December 25th, obviously.
Yeah. And Kylie will be in San Francisco, so we will not do the split screen thing next time. We will be together. But
Okay, thanks everybody. That was so
yeah.
fun to Reading Educated.
Yeah.
We'll talk to you next month. Yay! You guys are the best.
Bye.
Bye.